I think I'm already one of the hardest punchers in the light heavyweight division. At least as hard, if not harder, than Kovalev, Beterbiev, and Stevenson. The raw power is either there or it's not, and mine has been evident from the very beginning. This year, believe me, I've not always been digging with maximum power because I've been looking to gain a few crucial extra minutes in the ring. Those are the words of British light heavyweight prospect / contender Anthony Yarde. What he just said there is going to be dismissed and even ridiculed by a lot of people watching this video. A lot of fans seem to believe that you have to be one of the top fighters in the division currently in order to be one of the top punchers in the division currently. Most fans can't get their head around the fact that you've got guys who are not even in the upper echelons of a particular division who hit just as hard, if not harder, than guys who are in the upper echelons of the division. And I'm not just talking about prospects and contenders who have yet to break the top 10. I'm also talking about journeymen, fringe contenders, maybe ex-world champions, or, what have you. Punching power is not going to guarantee you success in boxing in terms of world level success. No. A good example would be Darnell Boone. Darnell Boone managed to drop Andre Ward. He dropped Sergey Kovalev when they fought and hurt him badly. He also knocked out Adonis Stevenson. This is a guy who really physically was more of a light middleweight. And yet he's hurting guys like these and dropping them. Light heavyweights and super middleweights. This guy's supposed to be a journeyman. I keep telling you people, right? There are a lot of journeymen out there who hit just as hard as the top fighters in their division. But they don't necessarily have the skill to be able to land their serious power punches on a consistent basis fight after fight. They might not even have the chin, the heart, or the defensive ability to stay out of the way of what's coming at them long enough to allow them to land their own big punches. So with that being said, going back to what Anthony Yarde has said here, that he believes he hits as hard as Kovalev, Beterbiev, and Stevenson, I wouldn't dismiss it. Maybe he does hit as hard as those guys, if not harder. But it's possible. I don't see why it couldn't be possible. Just because he potentially hits as hard as those guys or harder, it don't mean he's going to be as good as them. It don't mean he's going to reach the level that they're at. Then again, he may reach that level, but I'm just saying punching power alone is not something to get overly excited about. And again, somebody can be a world-class puncher without being a world-class fighter. That's what you have to understand. David Price. Are you trying to tell me David Price is not a world-class puncher? I'm telling you he is. Even though David Price lost to Christian Hammer, he managed to drop Christian Hammer and hurt Christian Hammer a lot more than Povetkin just did, who just won a points decision over Hammer. Price is a world-class puncher, but he's not a world-class fighter. So let that be known. Understand that before you start dismissing the idea that Anthony Yarde can hit as hard as Kovalev, Beterbiev, and Stevenson. Now, it remains to be seen whether he really can. We have to see him step up his level of opposition and see how his power holds up as he moves up in competition. But, again, I'm not going to dismiss the idea that he may really hit that hard. He's certainly very big for the division. He's a huge light heavyweight. The question for me is how he's going to be able to actually get down to weight in the long run, because he hasn't weighed 175 or below for the majority of his fights. He's been over 175 pounds if you check BoxRec for most of his fights. So yeah, it's going to be a struggle getting him down to weight because he's that big. But his punching power so far against the level of opposition he's fought, which is limited, has been very good. Even in his last fight against, I'm not going to try and pronounce the guy's name. You know the guy I'm talking about. I was I was criticized for mispronouncing his last opponent's name, but that opponent had never been stopped before. Admittedly, he was a career super middleweight, but still never been stopped. He'd been in there with, you know, people who could punch at super middleweight. I think he was in there with Callum Smith and a bunch of other people. Nobody ever stopped him. Anthony Yarde came in, dropped him and stopped him with relative ease. He did get caught a few times along the way, showed some defensive frailties, but in terms of his offense, his power was on point, his punch selection was good, and he got the guy out of there. So, yeah, I watch Anthony Yarde's progression with interest. I've been one of the people pushing for him to step up, you know, most vocally. So it's not like I'm not here also criticizing Anthony Yarde. I am. But at the same time, I can see the boy is very, very, let me not call him a boy, a man, right? He's a young man. He's very, very talented. And he's got the potential, I think, to go a long way. There are certain things that need to be tested. We need to see what his chin is like. We need to see what his stamina is like. I think that's the main thing with Yarde, is the stamina. Because he's so muscle bound, he's such a huge guy for the weight. What's he going to be like in the later rounds if he's in there with somebody tough who can take what he's got and keep coming at him? That's what I'm wondering about. What's he going to be like when he fights somebody tall, where they stand off him and he has to come in? Will he be vulnerable to getting countered in that situation from long range? You know, there are still questions about him, but I think he's a very, very promising prospect or contender. So yeah, let me know how you feel about what Anthony Yarde said here and all the points I've raised in the video. All right, it's happening. I'm out.